Hey everyone, Carolina Weather Authority meteorologist Joshua Nagelberg. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. I'm going to tell you what, man, was it humid here. I cannot believe how muggy it was. We actually had dew points around 80 degrees for a good chunk of the afternoon yesterday and today. So if you're one of those lucky people that had a chance to go to the beach or something, I commend you because, man, that is brutal. So anyway, I'm going to give you guys kind of the latest here on the state of the tropics. You know, we've talked about the heat and I guess the recent pattern of maybe not so wet weather, although we've had some pretty heavy storms in the local area here the last couple of days. And what we are looking ahead is what I expect to be an extremely busy, good chunk of the meat of our hurricane season once we roll into August and then especially into September and October. And I'm going to show everybody what I'm talking about here. So real quick, I am going to get off your screen here for the most part. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've been posting about videos about the longer range outlooks, the heat waves that we're dealing with, and of course the tropics, which I think we're going to be talking about more here in a few weeks. And of course we've got our latest daily forecasts and stories about what's affecting us here in the Carolinas. Now, I do want to turn your attention real quick to what's called the El Nino Southern Oscillation Index. This is El Nino, La Nina, or La Nada, which is kind of in the middle. And 0 is kind of neutral, or La Nada we sometimes call it, whereas positive numbers indicate El Nino and negative numbers indicate La Nina. So in May and into June, we did slip into the La Nina, which definitely favors a more typically active hurricane season on the Atlantic side as the waters cool off in the South Pacific. And the forecast trend for the most part continues to kind of strengthen the La Nina slowly right on through August, September, and October, basically our three busiest months of the hurricane season. So again, we're sticking with our 15 to 20 storm season forecast, and I would not be shocked if we even made it past 20. We'll just have to take a look at that, of course. But here's why I think what I really think stands out to me, and it should stand out to you as well. This is the tropical cyclone heat potential, and we've seen this area in the Western Caribbean and just north of the Greater Antilles and now across the main development region go way up into numbers that are very high and support, once we get storms here with low wind shear, maybe some rapid intensification. A number above 50 supports the potential for a storm to strengthen rapidly. Over 100 could go bonkers, and if anything comes out in here and the shear is low enough, this is where major hurricanes are likely to be forming over the next several months. This is not going anywhere anytime soon. If anything, it continues to climb. So I'm very much want to put you guys on alert for that. The sea surface temperature anomaly, this is with respect to normal. It was on the cool side down in here. It has quickly recovered to above average across the Cape Verde area. And that's coming in line with what I think is going to be a very active Cape Verde season once we get towards the end of July and more likely towards the second, third week of August. And we are primed for anything coming up here to go over warm water with respect to average. Our warmest water temperatures are typically in August and early September. So anything that does manage to make its way up the East Coast will have a lot of warm water facing it. In fact, most of the Atlantic Basin is above average, and this is definitely cause for alarm. So I wanted to let you guys know that we are not taking it lightly, and we're going to continue to see, some tropical activity coming up here soon. We're already 6 storms in, and I think maybe a couple more before the month ends. So this is the forecast for next month, and you notice a good chunk of the Atlantic Basin on the climate forecast system stays above average. And September, again, kind of the same deal. October is still above average for the most part. Really even November and December. So there's no signs of things cooling off significantly, and that certainly goes in favor of having a busy hurricane season. Now, right now, there's not a lot to talk about. The Hurricane Center is watching a tropical wave, which is going to come across the Florida Straits early next week and has about a 20% chance of developing into a depression or storm, I would think, south of Louisiana, maybe aimed at the Texas coast later next week. I don't think that's going to be a massive deal, but I could see how a depression or weak tropical storm forms, so that's an area that we're going to have to watch. They don't have anything highlighted out in here, but I am going to show you we do expect to see more activity here in the next couple of days. The current satellite view shows some thunderstorms over Louisiana, nothing organized. Here's our tropical wave near the Bahamas. That's going to be moving in this direction here. And then things are pretty quiet. There's actually kind of a lid on things with some more Saharan air, which is keeping things dry over the Lesser Antilles and parts of our main development region. So things are pretty quiet right now. There's actually a massive high pressure ridge right in here, this subtropical ridge, and that's kind of giving any chance of anything to survive pretty much nil. Even the Pacific is kind of quiet right now. It's not going to stay that way forever, though, of course. When we look into the central Atlantic, this is 10 degrees north, and this is 36 degrees west. We do see a bit of a spin here over Hurricane Alley, and this is something I think we need to watch. There's nothing organized at this point, and there may not be for a couple days, but this spin right here does have our attention at Carolina Weather Authority, and the GFS model doesn't do a whole lot with it. You can kind of see down here, this is that spin, and there's kind of one that follows it, and then a third wave. But if you do track, this is next Wednesday into Thursday and Friday, you can see things are starting to ramp up a little bit here. There's also an area we're going to watch, which is going to form in the Southwest Caribbean and jump over and develop in the Pacific, and that'll be a Pacific storm next weekend. But definitely things are starting to pick up here. Our region of high pressure is still pretty large, covering a good chunk of the central and eastern Atlantic, and even here over the southeastern United States. If you back up the GFS here, it doesn't really go too crazy with this wave coming into Louisiana and Texas. It'll just kind of jack up the moisture levels a little bit. We actually will have a front that's going to be draped across our area next weekend, but we stay on the hot side of it. So I do expect to see more locally heavy storms by the end of the week into next weekend. That could foil your outdoor plans. But watch this high pressure system here start to shift eastward and shrink a little bit, and we've got a big high coming down from central Canada, which will cool off New England and the Northeast. We'll have to watch this front to see if it hangs up for maybe some development at the very end of the month. But I am still a little more concerned about what the GFS maybe isn't yet showing, but could show, and that's this region in here. And as we head towards the beginning of August, this is July 31st, we've got a front which could spin something up. But I think this area we're watching potentially for our first hurricane by maybe the first week of August. I've kind of mentioned that before in earlier videos. I have nothing that's really swaying me against that at this point. I know the GFS isn't going crazy with it, but I'm going to show you the Canadian here in a little bit. This is that spin up I was showing you on the Canadian model. This is Sunday, so today, tonight, into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's still taking a low across, and it's not strong, but definitely something worth watching. And that's going to go into the Caribbean next weekend and may have a shot at developing. It looks like it's going right into that area of very high ocean heat content. So we do have a potential maybe for a hurricane to form here at the end of the month. And if this one doesn't, definitely we could see more behind it. So that's what I'm watching. This is the climate forecast system and shows our subtropical ridge off the southeast coast. Nothing unusual there. This is the end of the month, and you see the ridge does break down and creates a bit of a weakness off of the Atlantic coast. See this trough right here? Now that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on as this high breaks down. We definitely can open up the door for more activity over the southeast early in August. So just because the GFS isn't showing it doesn't mean there couldn't be something coming up. This is the second weekend of August, and we definitely have lowering pressures. High building up here, and we're always watching what we call this ridge over troubled water. Pressure's lower down in here, and I do think by the 10th of August, we definitely are going to be watching what's going on in the tropics much more closely than we are right now. If you think it was busy in May, June, and early July, you just have to wait, because I think by the middle of August, things start ramping up very quickly. Remember, I showed you how warm the waters are. So this is the European model. This is the ensemble prediction of something trying to develop maybe off the African coast. This is at the very end of July, so we could have something out ahead of it and then maybe a better shot behind it. Not much, though, here in the southeast or over the Caribbean. We'll watch this area as it comes into the Pacific. We could see a weak system here. This is valid on Thursday, lowering pressures off the Texas coast, but more of a rainmaker than anything else. But nothing that concerns me here for the Carolinas or Southeast. Look how much rain could occur over the Gulf Coast states. Houston needs some rain. There's definitely the potential for 3, 4, 5 inches down in here. With our front dropping down at the end of the week, we could have some heavier showers and storms across the Carolinas. But you can see where the high pressure region is here very clearly. No tropical trouble coming up this direction anytime in the next 5 or 6 days. This is the ensemble prediction of maybe a tropical system to try and develop. And you can see chances are kind of good here over the next 5 days in that area I showed you. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this. I'm not so worried about this or anything over the Western Gulf. This may develop on the Pacific side based on what I'm seeing. But this is where a potential system could end up going if it does form. And it looks like it's tracking through the Caribbean. This is the area we might want to keep an eye on, though, for next weekend. Waters are very warm. Next system could try to form a little farther north, but again, no threat of anything here in the next 5 days. I do think, though, later on into the end of the month and beginning of August, that certainly can change. So that's all I've got for you guys. Please, if you haven't yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and feel free to jump over to our Facebook page where we'll talk about more here on land. And I appreciate you guys joining me on this Sunday evening. You have a great weekend and enjoy your new work week.